Hello, and hope you're having a reasonably happy day. Recognize that the wording from the expanded Serenity Prayer, that we may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy in the life to come. Want to look with you today at something that as it struck me lately. As you look at the 12 steps, there's a lot of stuff about admitting. Let me go to share screen and see if I can show you what I'm talking about here. Bear with me. And share. And oops, go to the slideshow. Where is the slideshow? There it is. Okay. Okay. There. Wish there wasn't quite so many steps involved. Anyway, you look at the 12 steps here. The word admitting pops up in a lot of these. First step, we admitted we were powerless. Fourth and fifth step, well, the fifth step in particular, has it. We admitted we admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being. 10th step has the word again. When we were wrong, promptly admitted it. It's implied in a lot of the other steps too. The fourth step, obviously, we're doing inventory. Sixth and seventh steps, we are asking God to remove shortcomings, and that's an admission that I need Him to remove them. I'm not capable of it myself. Eighth and ninth steps, I'm coming to somebody and I'm admitting I did you wrong. All this business about admitting, which you can see it's the opposite of denial. And you could compare it with the act of confession of sins in worship. This is not a difference. I don't want to say the difference between what happens in worship and what we're doing in 12-step recovery. But sometimes we get an emphasis in worship that I don't think belongs there. And that's all about, I am such a bad person. It's judging. I'm confessing so that I, for judging. I'm a bad person. I've done horrible things. I deserve punishment, etc. I don't believe that's what God has in mind, and I definitely don't think that that's what the 12 steps have in mind. I see them. Let's see if I can make this slide advance here. Yeah. Okay. Move this. I look at this admitting as an act of liberating humility, not humiliation. Not saying I'm just a worthless human being, because we're not. Absolutely not. Somebody that Jesus thinks is worth dying for is not worthless. But to have the humility of letting go of something that I'm just not up to, letting go of a hope that I can fix something that I can't, letting go of a belief that I am something that I'm not. That's liberating. And I believe that's what's going on here. Let me show you something that I've been reading lately. Been going in my study group, been going through this book. Greg Clapper, he is a National Guard, Air National Guard chaplain. And he, in this book, When the World Breaks Your Heart, he talks about, among other things, his experience with a huge tragedy, an airliner crashing and hundreds of people dying, and how he and his National Guard group had to mobilize and help the survivors and work with the grief that they were feeling. And he was in addressing the kind of thing that he and the other people who were working in that situation, the experience they had. He talks about, he said, there's survivor's guilt and there's also Good Samaritan guilt, the helper guilt. Anyway, he talks here about how God's grace applies to that. The quote I have, it says, in our confessions as Christians, we need to name more than the sinfulness that calls for God's forgiveness and our brokenness, which calls for healing. What is most important for Good Samaritans, whether they are professionals such as firefighters and chaplains or lay people simply acting out the Christian vocation of friendship, is that we name and confess our limitedness, our humanity. And then pay attention to this. We confess that we are not God, and we know it. Our limitedness, our humanness, should not be an occasion for guilt. Our awareness is an opening through which we can receive the grace of God. That thing about there, you can recognize the similarity to the AA quote, AA slogan: "There is a God, and I am not Him." We confess that we are not God. Now that sounds so obvious; it sounds not even worth saying, but yet it needs to be said, because without meaning to, without realizing it, we can so often feel like I should have the attributes of God. I don't know why I didn't know. I don't know why I couldn't do more. And all of that gets in the way, and we need to be healed from that. The things that I see Greg pointing out here, I think it's worth breaking it down. What are we admitting under God's grace? Because I have a God who says, Phil, I love you. Phil, I am glad you're mine. My son died for you. You are forgiven. You are welcome in my family. And whatever you've got, we'll go through this together. Okay, because we have that God of grace. Therefore, I can admit I'm guilty of some things. I can admit I'm broken in some ways. And I can admit I have limitations. Okay, I'm guilty because I've done some bad things. And I'm powerless to go back and rewind that and re-record over top of it. Can't be done. I'm powerless there. So I'm admitting that in humility. I'm accepting that guilt so I can turn it over to God. There's also the brokenness. That is worth admitting too. Now, this is not about guilt. This is about recognizing I've experienced trauma. Bad things have happened to me. People have done bad things to me. Other things have just happened, and it's shaped the person I am in a lot of ways. And a lot of those ways are not good, and I need healing from them. But I'm broken. Admitting that I'm broken, I'm not whole. And don't act as if I am. If I have a broken leg, don't go trying to run. And then this other thing, I have limitations. I am not God. I am a human being created by God. Which again sounds so obvious, but think about it. Think of all the times you say stuff like, I should have known better. If only I'd seen it coming. I should have tried harder. There's more I could have done. So often we're acting like we don't have human limitations, and we do. And that's not a bad thing. That's the thing we got to recognize. God created us. We are creations of God. We are not God. So I'm not all powerful. I'm not all knowing. I'm not present everywhere. I can't be in two places at once. I get worn out. I have to rest. I have limitations on my knowledge and my abilities. There's some things I'm able to lift and some things I'm not able to lift. I have limitations. God created me that way. And when God created humans, He said, it is good. So to accept my limitations as something good. Well, if I'm doing that under God's grace, if I'm admitting my guilt, admitting my brokenness, and admitting my limited human nature, doing it under God's grace, well, then I'm freed from thinking I got to somehow make up for this guilt. I got to fix it in some way. I'm freed from thinking I can heal myself. I'm freed from thinking if I try harder, I can know everything and do everything, be everywhere. then we're freed from that and free to be the people that God created us to be and do the loving things God created us to do under his lordship. Um, let's see. I want to show you, yes, verse from the book of First Peter, chapter 5, 6, and 7. Peter the apostle says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you." Okay, the humility of recognizing God is God and I'm not him. And I don't have to be. I'll let him lift me up to the place I'm supposed to be. One of his creations, a beautiful creation of his, capable of some wonderful things with his help. And cast all your anxiety, all your cares on him. All the anxiety that I shouldn't have done that stuff and I'm guilty and how am I ever going to make up for it? Cast that anxiety to him. The anxiety of I shouldn't be broken. I should be able to do all the stuff that people who aren't broken can do, and all the anxiety that comes from thinking that if I'd only had done more, if only I'd known better, etc. Um, Cast it on him, and why? Because he cares. He's not judging me; he's loving me. Look back at those three items that Greg Clapper pointed out. I'm guilty of some things. Yes, I can admit that. And I'm forgiven. I'm broken in some ways. Yes. And I'm getting healed. And I have limitations. I'm not God. I'm a human being created by God. And within those limitations, which I believe are going to be there forever, I'm never going to become God. I am a creation of God, going to be that way forever. I'll always have some limitations, and that's good. And I can find purpose and joy within those limitations in my place as a creation of God. Uh, I hope that helps you. I know that's helping me to recognize this. Hang on a second, push the button. All right. To know that I have a God of grace and I don't have to stay in denial about my guilt. I don't have to go through that horrible, hard work of pretending I'm not broken, trying to act as if I'm not broken. I don't have to have this burden on me that I should be able to do what God does. Um, I hope that this week you can find some ways that you've been operating with all of that burden on your shoulders and let go of it. Cast those things to our God and live free. Live in that wonderful, liberating humility that says, I'm not God and I don't have to be. Well, God bless your week and God bless your looking at yourself and finding out those ways where, yeah, I am limited and that's okay. And let's see if I can push the right button here.